How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz. In today's video, we're going to be going over the upcoming Mega Rayquaza Makeup Raid event in Pokemon Go. So after the disaster that was Mega Rayquaza Raid Day in Pokemon Go, Niantic wanted to apologize to the players and make things up by actually giving us a special Raid Day makeup, which will be taking place on August 3rd. Now, the best part about this raid event is that it actually won't be using the Elite Raid format. I would like to imagine after the recent Mega Lucario Raid Day event, Niantic has actually decided to move away from Elite Raids. One can hope anyway. Regardless, this is actually a really good announcement, as most players were expecting a makeup day for the Elite Raid format, which would have likely just been as bad as the first one. So now with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the event details. So as I mentioned earlier, this event is going to be taking place on August 3rd, but the time frame is going to be structured as multiple raid hours, which means that Rayquaza should be spawning on most available gyms instead of select eligible gyms like the Elite Raid Day format. The Mega Rayquaza raid hours are going to be as follows. We're going to get one at 11 AM, one at 1 PM, and then finally the last one at 6 PM. So I'm not sure if these are going to be available for 45 minutes like the typical Elite Raid Day format, like that's how it was last time, or for 1 hour like the Raid Day format. Unfortunately, Niantic always feels like it's better to just exclude a bunch of information, which I think is really unhelpful, but yeah, the only thing that was actually listed on the official blog post was the hatch times. So for example, on normal raid hours on Wednesdays, the raid hours are going to be 1 hour, right, from 6 to 7 PM local time. Now for these raids, I really have no idea if it's going to be like 45 minutes like the Elite Raid Day format, because again, this is like a makeup day for that, or if it's going to function like the normal raid hour format, which is going to be 1 hour. Not to mention, on top of that, raids also reset during raid hour every 30 minutes, which actually allows players to raid more raids within a smaller area. Now we do actually have one more event detail that I want to go over that I think a lot of you guys are going to be really hyped about. At least for pay-to-play players, you guys are going to love this. So because the Elite Raid format is not going to be used, this also means you're going to be able to remote raid into these raids, and if you're going to be raiding in person, you can send invites to your friends in-game. The remote raid limit is also going to be increased to 20 from August 2nd at 5 PM to August 3rd at 8 PM Pacific Daylight Time, which means you can actually do a total of 40 remote raids during this event, 20 each day between these time windows. In my opinion, this is really the best of both worlds because you have free-to-play players who are going to go to the gyms in person and then send invites, whether through PokeGenie or just to their friends, and you know, for some players who maybe have to work that day or they just can't get out of the house, like they can remote raid, get their Mega Rayquaza energy, and now they're going to be good to go. Like always though, I try to give credit where credit is due. Like this is a very fantastic change from Niantic. It shows that they've really taken the feedback that we were giving them from last time, because that was just a total disaster for an Elite Raid format, and I really hope they don't do Elite Raids moving forward, because again, like this structure works better for the majority of their player base. Next up, let's go over the Mega Energy for Mega Rayquaza. So Mega Rayquaza is going to require 400 Mega Energy to evolve it for the first time. In the past, the amount of energy rewarded was 80 during the initial launch for it during Pokemon Go Fest, I believe 2023, and then previously during the Elite Raid Day format back in June, it was increased to about 175 to 225 depending on how fast you actually completed it. Now because this Makeup Day format is going to be different than the previous two rotations, I'm not really sure which one they're going to go with. I feel like the difficulty behind Elite Raids was the reason that we actually ended up getting more energy, but this is also a Makeup Raid Day, so I feel like they wouldn't want to piss off players even more. So either way though, if it ends up being the old format, you're going to need to do anywhere from 5 to 7 raids, but if it's based on the increased energy from the Elite Raid Day format, you're only going to need to do between 2 to 3 raids. Now since this is not going to be a typical Raid Day event, we're not going to be getting more free raid passes to use outside of the daily free one that you normally get, and the one from the day before if you save it in your inventory. Now assuming that the Mega Energy is going to be anywhere from 175 to 225, if you guys actually do these raids with a large group and you complete the raid quickly, you can actually get the required Mega Energy without having to use more than just your free passes. Next up, let's go over the free timed research. So Rayquaza doesn't just require Mega Energy to evolve, right? It's going to also need a Meteorite to teach a Dragon Ascent, which is required for the Mega Evolution. Now the big problem with the Elite Raid Day timed research that was offered was that getting the Meteorite was locked behind actually completing one of these Elite Raids, which was the big issue for most players given that they were in person only and extremely difficult. Like I'm telling you right now, Mega Rayquaza during the Elite Raid Day, oh my god, that raid boss was crazy difficult for someone that should be double weak to ice types. Now with that being said guys, I am confident you're going to be able to get your Meteorite from this research because the raid should be much easier to complete, especially because you can also call in raid support with the remote raid passes. So overall, this is great news for a lot of players who missed it last time, and even for those players who were able to get it last time, now you can get another extra Meteorite as well. I also want to emphasize, like, once you complete this research, claim that Meteorite immediately. I actually got a lot more comments than I thought I would from people last time saying that they forgot to do this and the timed research expired, which means that they lost their Meteorites. Like, that really sucks, man. So do not wait to redeem this. Meteorites are extremely rare in Pokemon Go, and there's a strong chance we're not going to get another opportunity for this for a very, very long time. Next up, let's go over the shiny rate for this event. So because this is not going to be a typical raid day event, there was no mention of the shiny rate being boosted for Mega Rayquaza. Also, on Elite Raid days, I don't believe the shiny rate was boosted either, at least based on the comments that you guys were telling me. It did not seem like the shiny rate was boosted, but again, the typical shiny rate for raid days is 1 out of 10, and then the standard shiny rate for a legendary raid battle is going to be 1 out of 20. So going into this event, I would just expect it to be the standard 1 out of 20 rate, opposed to the boosted rate of 1 out of 10. I also want to remind you guys that these are just the shiny raids. You're not guaranteed to actually get any shinies after doing this many raids. I know some people like to joke about YouTubers getting more luck, but during Mega Lucario raid day, I did 30 raids and I did not get a single shiny. Given that the shiny rate was 1 out of 10, this meant that I went 3 times over odds. I did more raids in the hopes of getting a shiny because I actually don't even have shiny Lucario. I only have a shiny Riolu, which I don't want to evolve because that is my only shiny Riolu. So yeah, I was really bummed that I wasn't able to get a shiny Lucario. But again, guys, like at the end of the day, that is just RNG. Sometimes you're going to get the shiny under odds and sometimes you're going to go over odds with nothing. Either way, I would mainly just go into this event with the focus on gathering as much Mega Energy as possible for Mega Rayquaza, but if you really want to hunt for that shiny, it is most likely going to be full odds. There was no mention of it being shiny boosted. Now hopefully all of that does make sense. As always, if you guys have any additional questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I might make a follow-up video if there's like enough questions. If not, I'll just do my best to respond to you guys on this video itself. But now let's talk about how good Mega Rayquaza is in Pokemon Go. So for those who don't know, this is going to be the best dragon and flying type attacker in the game as a Mega, and on top of that, it's also going to give you candy bonuses when catching Pokemon that are dragon, flying, and psychic types. Now some players always want to tell me it's like, oh, Mega Rayquaza only boosts dragon and flying, it doesn't boost psychic. That's not true. If you actually go to Mega Rayquaza in-game, it shows that it boosts dragon, flying, and psychic. Now, if you guys do want to run Rayquaza as a Dragon-type attacker, the best moveset to have on it is going to be Dragon Tail plus Outrage. Unfortunately, Breaking Swipe got nerfed like a few seasons ago, so it's really not that good in the Master League, and then in the Raid/Gym meta, Outrage is going to be better. Now, if you want to run it as a Flying-type attacker, you will want to have Air Slash plus Dragon Ascent, which once again can only be obtained from a Meteorite. Now, there is some very unfortunate news, as many of us were hoping that Shadow Rayquaza was going to be the next Shadow Legendary Pokemon featured in Pokemon Go. Niantic decided to just skip it entirely, and instead we're going to get Shadow Cresselia next. I will have a video going over the new Team Go Rocket Takeover event and everything you guys need to know about it very soon, including all the new Pokemon and whether or not they're actually meta relevant. But as of right now, because we're not going to be getting Shadow Rayquaza, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take, guys, but it does make me think that in the future, they are going to allow us to actually use Meteorites to get Dragon Ascent on our Shadow Rayquaza, which is likely the reason that we didn't actually get it during this rotation, because Niantic probably knew that it was going to be extremely OP. So when it comes down to it, if you do end up getting extra Meteorites, I would strongly recommend saving them. Given how rare Meteorites are in Pokemon Go, that would be my top recommendation, but at the end of the day, it's totally up to you. Like, you could use more Meteorites to just have a team of like flying type attackers for Rayquaza. Now, one additional tip I would like to give you guys is that I do highly encourage you to give your Dragon Ascent Rayquaza a secondary charge move that is going to cost 100,000 Stardust and 100 Rayquaza candy, and then just give it Outrage. Once you actually have that set up with both Outrage as well as Dragon Ascent, you can just alternate between the fast moves with TMs, making it a lot more functionable while spending less resources on Rayquaza, right? Like, instead of building 2 Rayquaza, you have 1 Rayquaza that has functionality for both. Fast TMs are also a lot more accessible in game because if you actually do routes, they're pretty much guaranteed right now. I don't know if they're going to change that in the future, but yeah, if you ever need to get fast TMs in game, do routes. Like, I have gotten so many fast TMs recently just from doing routes. Next up, let's talk about Mega Rayquaza as a Dragon, Flying, and Psychic type, right? So Mega Rayquaza, similar to Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, actually has a special 10% damage boost to all Pokemon in raids when actually in your party. So this doesn't mean it has to be on the field. It can literally be in your number 6 spot, and it's still going to give a 10% damage boost to all of the surrounding Pokemon. But if you have it on the field, it'll work like typical Mega Pokemon, where it gives a 30% damage boost to teammates Pokemon using Dragon, Flying, or Psychic types when active. Unfortunately, this bonus is not stacked, it just prioritizes the highest one. Next up, let's go over the 100% IVs to pay attention to for Mega Rayquaza. So for Rayquaza itself, it's going to be 2191 for the non-weather boosted CP, and then for the weather boosted CP with windy weather, it's going to be 2739. If you get the Honda Rayquaza, man, oh my goodness, I'm going to be so jealous. Now with that being said, let's take a look at the counters for Mega Rayquaza. Once again, this is not going to be an elite raid for Mega Rayquaza, but it still is going to be a Mega Legendary tier option, so this is going to be a tough raid to actually get done. At the end of the day, guys, Ice types are going to be king for Mega Rayquaza, but this is going to be a very difficult raid boss. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top counters here, right? So first up, we have Shadow Mamoswine with Powder Snow plus Avalanche, going to be your best counter. But if we do take a look at the amount of feints for Shadow Mamoswine, it's going to be quite glassy. Even though it is going to have like the best DPS, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty glassy option. Compared to regular Mamoswine here, that's going to be the next best option in terms of the non-Mega. I would not recommend using Mega Gardevoir. I'm going to go over which Megas you want to use later on, because you do want to focus on the candy bonuses, I feel, rather than the Mega damage for these raid bosses, because again, you should get enough players with the Pokegenie invites and stuff like that. So while I wouldn't recommend using the Ice-type Megas, I would definitely recommend using a Mega Rayquaza if you guys already have it. Other than that, your next best Ice-type options would be Cetitan, Shadow Weavile, Baxcalibur, Glaceon, Shadow Mewtwo, or regular Mewtwo with Psycho Cut plus Ice Beam. We also have Galarian Darmanitan, that's going to be a really good Pokemon to use. Aurora's is going to be a solid Pokemon to have. Avalugg, regular Weavile, and then we also have some other options down here, which really aren't like too good, but most of the ice types up here are pretty much what you want to focus on. Now let's say, for example, you have level 40 counters and you have a best friend in the lobby. You can already see that there's a massive difference between how long it actually takes to beat this raid boss with best friends active and then also level 40 counters. In the best possible scenario, like Mega Rayquaza can definitely be duoed, with the weather boost, with like really top level counters, with the shadows available, with party power. Like there are so many different options for simulations on Pokebattlers. If you guys want to check this stuff out yourself, there's going to be a link to their website in the description down below. If you are a newer or returning player, like just use your best ice types, take advantage of the Pokegenie invites, and you should be good to go. Most of the time, people who are going to be remote raiding do have good counters. Sometimes they don't if you're using like other random sites, but Pokegenie has been very, very reliable in my opinion. Next up, let's go over some additional tips and tricks, starting off with the Mega Evolution that you want to have active. So Mega Rayquaza is going to be a Dragon and Flying type Pokemon, right? You could also use the Dragon type Mega against Mega Rayquaza because Dragon is super effective against Dragon. So these are going to be the following options you guys have available: Charizard X, Ampharos, Sceptile, Altaria, Salamence, Latios, Rayquaza, and then finally Garchomp. Whichever one of these you have at Mega Level 3, prioritize that one over the others for increased candy and extra large candy during this raid day event. Now if you want to farm even more candy, now would be a great time to also use your Silver Planet Berries combined with that Mega Level 3 candy boost. Rayquaza is a legendary Pokemon, which means that the only other way outside of using rare candy on it would be walking to get more candy. Legendary Pokemon are 20-kilometer walking buddies, so if you can get more candy just from the raid battle itself, that's going to be to your advantage. And then finally, for those of you out there who don't have that many trainers in your local area, I've mentioned this many times in this video already, but I would strongly recommend hosting through Pokegenie. This way you're going to get the numbers that you actually need to beat Mega Rayquaza this time around. Many players did not have the additional raid support they needed last time. This is going to give it to you. You can also use a campfire map in-game as well to search for raids and find groups, but again, Pokegenie for like these types of raid days for like really small communities, this is super clutch. Anyways, that's basically everything that I have for you guys in this one. If you still want to check out some more content, then watch these two videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.